Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another guide on Gran Turismo 7. Today's guide is going to be trying to help you out on this week's Daily Race C, which is a heavy fuel saving race in Group 3. So we have done fuel saving guides in the past, but I wanted to give you some tips for this race to help you improve and help you figure out how some people are managing to maintain the pace that they are while fuel saving and without pitting. So tyre multiplier is on ×5, I think, for this race, and fuel is ×6. So a lot of people are probably thinking, well, that has to be a pit stop race, but it isn't, because there are two cars really that you can get away with doing a no stop here. One is a Porsche, which actually doesn't require that much work with the fuel mixture. The other is a BRZ, which I'm the Subaru BRZ, that is, which I much prefer the way it drives. However, you do need to be very, very handy with moving the mixture around. So I'm going to try and point out why we do things and what I'm doing, to try and help you really gain as much time on this week's Daily Race C and for future races heavy on fuel. So you're going to see straight away, at the moment we're in the Slipstream. So what I'm going to do while we're in the Slipstream is go a little bit more aggressive on the fuel mixture that we've got here. You can see I'm a mixture 2. Normally I'd be a mixture 3 through that sector, or sometimes mixture 6, but you can see at the moment we want to stay in the Slipstream to that Porsche. The Porsche does seem like quite a strong car here. I think it's very close really between the Subaru and the Porsche. I don't like the way the Porsche handles on Gran Turismo 7. I like the way the Subaru BRZ handles on Gran Turismo 7, so I go with the slightly more complicated way, but this is going to be really handy for other races as well, so you can use this knowledge that you're going to gain in this video for other types of cars at different types of tracks, because this track is quite a good example of how you do fuel saving. Compared to where we did it at Le Mans, it was a bit different there in Group 2, but this one will hopefully give you some more guidance. So at the moment you can see we're in that Slipstream and we're doing massive short shifting. So obviously with the Subaru BRZ, you can shift this car very early. You can check that out on the ECU mapping, where you can see where the rev range is and maximum torque and stuff like that. With this car you can clearly see that it's got the ability to do a bit of short shifting, but you can see I'm actually staying in mixture 1 and 2 and 3 quite a lot at the moment. I'm not going too high on the mixture settings because I'm just trying to stay with him, trying to utilize that Slipstream. Now that is so important with any daily race when you're saving fuel. Slipstream gives you massive benefits when saving fuel. So you can see through the chicane into mixture 3, not just to save fuel, that'll actually help with the way the car takes the corner as well. So, you know, if you were going for that ultimate lap, obviously you'd stay in mixture 1, but mixture 3 actually keeps the car quite stable through there. But you're going to see as we come to the end of the straight, so once we're getting up to speed in 6th gear, we're going to go to at least mixture 2 or 3. So you can see here we're in mixture 4, and we're going to go into the braking zone, and we're going to stay in mixture 4 for now, just while we're hanging on to that Slipstream. You can see we're dropping off. Slipstream is around 1.3 seconds, and into mixture 3 now for these two left-hand corners. So what I tend to do, and what I've tried to, and what I figured out with this car is that, well, one thing, 4th gear is incredible for coming out of corners in mixture 1 with this car. So you really want to get it into 4th gear early, and mixture 1, you see how we do it there, gives it really good acceleration. But another thing is obviously accelerating out of corners. This is the same for probably most cars with fuel saving as well. Coming out of the corners when you're short shifting, be in mixture 1 and use a bit of revs, not maximum revs, just a little bit of revs. So for example, this corner now, we're going to rev it out in mixture 1. You see in the rev bar build up, and then we're going to go into mixture 3 towards the end there. So it's very important to get your speed acceleration up to speed with mixture 1 with a little bit more revs, and then save the fuel through the corner. So again, you see here we're going to rev it in mixture 1, and then watch what we do as we come to the end of the straight for the left hand corner. Now this corner is a perfect example of where you can use mixture 6, because you can see into mixture 6 at the end of the straight, and it's going to give us good rotation, and we can get on the throttle super early in mixture 6 as well, and then back into mixture 1 for the acceleration zone coming out of this right hand corner again in 4th gear. It gives us incredible acceleration in 4th gear in the Subaru BRZ. So again, this is how you're saving fuel, using that mixture 6 as much as possible to carry speed through corners, and at the end of straights, you see it here, we use it again, but then back into mixture 2 for this chicane. So I wanted to try and get it back into the Slipstream. You can see we've actually faded out of the Slipstream on lap 2. So from now on, we're going to have to do all our fuel saving solo without any help from the car in front, and this is where it's all about trying to maintain speed with higher mixture settings, and just really trying to take as much speed through the corners as you physically can. So now let's watch this lap without a Slipstream and point out again. So into mixture 6 into the braking zone, and we're going to carry mixture 6 now through this corner, because we're going to have to do a little bit more saving fuel. So into mixture 6, and even carrying mixture 6 through this left hand corner. So even though we're in mixture 6, you can see that the speeds through the corner are actually not that much difference. We're into mixture 3 though for the second part, and that's because we want to get a little bit more acceleration from this corner here, so we can get into mixture 1 and carry that speed in 4th gear. So at this point here, that mixture 6 usage has not really lost us any lap time. It's lost us a 10th, which isn't that bad because we didn't have the slipstream down the straight. So factor that in, we're probably matching what we were doing before. So in mixture 4 here, mixture 1 again. So even though we're actually using higher mixture settings, because our tires are actually in pretty good condition at the moment, we're still carrying the speed through the corners. So at this stage of the race, using that higher mixture setting is not actually losing us that much in the corners. You can see we're coming out the corners and we're actually ahead of our previous lap time there, so a 10th ahead, even though we're doing fuel saving. Now you might see the laps remaining saying 6.9. Now what I would say at this stage, we know we've got over 7 laps remaining, is don't panic too much about your fuel when it's saying that at this stage of the race, because one thing you need to know as well with Gran Turismo 7, which not everyone probably realizes but a lot of us do, is as your car gets lighter, the fuel consumption gets better. It's like real life, you know, the lighter your car is, the better the fuel consumption. So it's saying 6.7. now that's going to change because obviously when we're using different mixture settings, it's going to gradually get closer to the laps we see. See, it's gone back up to 6.8 there as we use mixture 6 and then into 3 through the chicane. And then into this final corner, we're going to go over the line on around 6.6 laps of fuel left. You can see the point that you need to look at is the 70%. We're on 69% now, and that's not too bad because we know that we've got about 10% of fuel per lap, and it's going to get better as we go through the race. So we skipped ahead there. We see we went over the line on 55.7, next lap at 55.8. Two very, very strong laps there, I have to say, for fuel saving. You can see we're still out of that slipstream, around 1.7 seconds behind, and luckily for us, P1 had a massive moment there, just about saves the car and then loses it again, and that puts us up into P1. So now we're going to have to do fuel saving while under a lot of pressure and trying to push to get a very good lap times in. So we're going to go over the line again, another 55.8, a very, very solid 3 laps there. You can see a 56.0, 55.7, 55.8 and 55.8 again while doing fuel saving. You can see the fuel is actually looking all right. We're on 48%. We've got 5 laps to go, well, just under 5 laps to go. So with the fuel getting better the lighter the car gets, we're actually looking quite good at the moment in this race. Now another thing we need to factor in as well is ensuring you don't give slipstream to the car behind. So you can see we've got a car behind us, a very fast driver, top split driver on Gran Turismo 7, and what we're going to do here is we're going to try and make sure that we keep him around 1.2, at least 1.2 seconds behind, because at 1.2 seconds you don't really get that much of a slipstream. The slipstream range is around 1.3, so anything over 1.3 not going to get any benefit. Anything under 1.3 to like 1.1, it's minimal. So you can see at this stage 1.1 seconds. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be a bit more aggressive. I'm not going to go into fuel mixture 2 or 3, we're staying in mixture 1, and I'm doing that because I want to get a really strong exit from this corner. So you can see with that mixture 1 there, we've got a better exit, and you can see it's back up to 1.1, and then through this section here I know that the BLZ is stronger than the Porsche, so we're going to get that gap back up to nearly 1.3 seconds and out the slipstream range, and then back into mixture 6. So it's all about using the fuel when you need to use it and saving it where you know your car's very strong as well. So it's a very, very tactical battle that you've got to go on with the fuel for this week's Daily Race C. Hopefully these tips will help you out. Remember, if you do find these tips useful, do hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and you know, you can catch us live as well when we're doing these races, and you can ask us questions then as well. So you see again, into mixture 3, into the chicane, trying to carry the speed through there, and we're keeping that gap over the important 1.3 seconds mark. So yeah, midway through the race, you can see the tyre wear's kicking in. Now that's another factor that you have to pay attention for this race, and one thing that will help the tyre wear is obviously using the mixtures on higher settings. So again, that can be a benefit for the Subaru as we skip ahead to lap 8, and you can see we've still got that gap to around 1.5 seconds. You can see the tyre wear is there, but one thing I'll say, the Subaru is probably a little bit better than the Porsche in how it drives with tyre wear. So this race is a case of, do you want a car that drives nice but is a little bit trickier to do the fuel, or do you want a car that is a little bit easier to do the fuel? That's a Porsche. However, it just does not drive very nice in my personal view. But you can see at this stage we've got 2 laps to go, and the fuel's looking reasonable. We've got 18% left. We do need to do a bit of fuel saving here, so again, we're going to have to do maybe a little bit more fuel saving than what we did at the start, whilst trying to keep that gap over 1.3 seconds, which we're doing at the moment. You can see still getting into mixture 1 when we need to, so mixture 1 for the acceleration, and then using slightly higher settings for some of the corners. You can see we're into mixture 6 here because I know that the gap's at a reasonable range, and this corner again is an example of where using mixture 6 with heavy worn tyres is probably not going to lose you anything. If anything, it might help you on the entry into the corner. So factor that in all the time when you're doing these races, that when your tyres are warm, sometimes using that higher mixture might give you better rotation because your throttle isn't going to be as aggressive when accelerating as well. So you can see it again back into mixture 1, and then we're coming up to the strength of the Subaru. So flat out through here, and we should be able to get that gap back over to 1.3, 1.2, over the 1.2 mark. And you can see again there, it's back up to 1.3. So again, these races are quite complicated, and I think it does actually put a lot of people off. But one thing you need to do is just get yourself in a rhythm of how you're doing it. So I've got myself into a rhythm of how I do this race now in terms of what I'm saving fuel, where I'm saving fuel. And once you get yourself into a rhythm of what fuel mixtures to use on what corners, it starts becoming very much like what gears you use in a corner. So, sometimes you can see that the fuel needs a bit more, so you just go one higher. So for example, normally I'd go through there in mixture 3, but I know I need to save a little bit more, so I'll just do mixture 4 for that corner and save that little bit extra, and then onto the straight. You can see that our fuel 10%, we're slightly below what we need, but we know that this final lap is going to be a little bit better on the fuel, and we've got the gap at 1.7 seconds. So all we have to do at this stage is do a tiny bit more fuel saving. So again, mixture 6 a little bit earlier than what I'd normally go into at the end of the straight. That's going to save me a bit more at the top speed using mixture 6, and then through here all the way in mixture 6. And again, even in mixture 6, you can see that the car's still driving really nice, and that's because you're not putting as much power down, keeping it in its track limits. And then back into mixture 3 for this left-hand corner, where we're going to get on that throttle for this right-hand corner, where we want to get into 4th gear early because that 4th gear is so strong on the exits of corners in the Subaru. So again, you see 4th gear, mixture 1, and again we're going to go up the mixture to mixture 6 before we get into the corner to save that little bit of extra fuel and just make sure that we're going to get to the finishing line without running out of fuel. So again, through here mixture 6, then back to mixture 1, and this is just a case of just doing this constantly, and the more you do it, the better you'll get at it as well. Now, one thing I would say is I do think it's a good idea to not worry about your radar. If you're doing fuel saving, ignore your radar in terms of that. If you've got the rear view mirror like I've got, this is the way to do it, because you can look in the rear view mirror, you can see what's going on behind you. Now, if you're on a bonnet view, what I would do is maybe don't worry about your radar. Maybe just look back every now and then. If you've got a big enough a gap, like 1 second, 1.5 second gap, and you don't make any big mistakes, you don't need to be clicking onto your radar in between every fuel saving, because you're just overcomplicating things. You're creating a situation where you're looking at your radar, you're changing to fuel, and you're just going to create yourself and get yourself, you're going to lose time because that's too much going on. With what we're doing here, it's just a case of rhythm and building up like a mental memory of what you're doing. So factor that in. Try and, if you use this view, it's great because you can just use the rear view mirror. But if you don't use this view, just make sure you're looking back rather than looking at the radar constantly, because messing around with the radar to the fuel is going to lose you lap time. So you can see as we come to the finish line, we've got 1% fuel left. It's going to go down to 0, but we still got enough to get over the line. And we finished in a very, very strong finishing time. That was my best finishing time yesterday in 19:23. I think it was reasonably quick compared to other times we had seen finish through the day. And you can see ahead of all the Porsches as well. So pretty good result. Hopefully them tips can help you out and help you improve with fuel saving. Let me know if it gives you any advice and stuff like that. I'll be checking out the comment section. See you again. Bye, everyone.